If you want to learn how to make $5,000 a month in crypto on autopilot without really doing much, then this video is for you. I will give you an easy to follow step-by-step process. Let's jump straight into the action. Step number 1, get clear on what your target is. What do I mean by that? Well, many of you guys might not need $5,000 a month. You might need $2,000 a month. Some of you might even need $500 a month, and you're gonna be happy with that. So how do you get clear on what your target is? You do it by calculating your monthly expenses. How much money on average are you spending per month in order to live comfortably? How much are you spending for rent if you are paying rent? How much are you spending for electricity, for water, for all of your bills? How much are you spending for food? How much money do you need per month in order to live comfortably? Ideally, you would get a paper and a pen and you will write down how much money you spent for the last 3 months, and then you're gonna get the average number from that. Because if you just calculate how much you spent last month, well, this might not be very accurate, right? Because some months you might be spending more, other months less, right? So ideally, you would calculate for 3 months, you're gonna get the average, and this will give you a clue for how much money you need in order to live comfortably. Now, step number 2, decide which way to take. There are many ways to make this type of money in crypto per month, but in this video I'm gonna cover 2 ways: trading and investing. Trading is a little bit harder and it will consume more of your time, but you can get way higher returns on your capital. Investing is way easier, but in order to make this type of money, you're gonna need a lot more capital. Let's get into the investing part first, and then we're gonna talk about trading. This is a spreadsheet, the link to which you should be able to find either in the description of the video or in the comments. I highly suggest you guys to get this sheet because it's gonna help you with your calculations, right? It's gonna help you calculate how much capital you need in order to cover your monthly expenses. Once you click the link to the sheet, you will not be able to edit it, right? You have to actually click on file and then click on make a copy in order to create your own copy in your Google Drive, which you will be able to edit. And you're gonna wanna be able to edit this sheet because you actually have to change the data here. So what do we have here? Well, we have the years, as you guys can see. Now it's 2024, then 2025, 2026, right? So these are the years. These are the number of years. Year 1, year 2, year 3. This is the price of Bitcoin, assuming 30% average appreciation year after year after year. Now in 2024, the Bitcoin price is close to 70,000. It was 70,000 when I made this sheet. Now it's 67,000 almost, right? But it is what it is. You can change the value here if you want to, right? So if I change it now to 66,777, you will see that this will be updated here. Right, but let's bring it back to 70,000 because on these other columns here we have 70,000 as well. Just keep in mind, guys, that if you want to change the Bitcoin price, just change it in this very first cell right here in year 2024. Don't mess with these other cells because there are formulas in there. So Bitcoin price in 2024, $70,000. Assuming 30% average appreciation a year, which by the way is not overstretched, right? Actually, Bitcoin has been doing much better. So you can say that this is a realistic target. Some people might say that it's even conservative, right? 30% appreciation a year. That's why I have here other sheets, right, with smaller percentages, and I will show you guys how to edit this and change the percentages if you want to calculate bigger percentages, or if you want to calculate different percentages than this here, right? But for now, what I want you guys to understand is that this is 30% appreciation. So year 2025, average price of Bitcoin $91,000, 2026 118, 2027 153. 10 years from now, year 2034, one Bitcoin costs close to $1 million. Now, that's the price of Bitcoin. Here you have 2 very important columns: holdings in USDT and holdings in Bitcoin. What I want you guys to remember not to touch is the column holdings USDT. As you guys can see, there are formulas in these cells, and if you try to change here the value, right, the formulas will be messed. So don't play with this. What you guys should play with is the holdings in Bitcoin column. Here you can play with different numbers, right? So you can play with 0.5 Bitcoin. By the way, let me do something real quick here for you. I will make all of these cells equal to the first one right here, so that when you guys change the value in this first cell, all of these cells will be updated. So again, you have to remember not to change anything in these other cells, just change the values here. And what I can do, I can make this yellow. I can make yellow the cells where you guys can change the data. right? That way it will be easier for you to remember this. So here, holdings in Bitcoin. Here you guys have to play with different numbers in order to see how much Bitcoin you need to buy in order to get your monthly expenses covered. Right now you can see that with 30% appreciation of Bitcoin, if you guys are holding 1.3 Bitcoins on year number 1, your holdings will already be $118,000, right? That's the 30% appreciation. Your capital will increase by $27,300, which per month is $2,275 on average. On the second year, assuming that you didn't cash out any of that, right? You didn't sell any of your Bitcoin, you're gonna have $35,000 appreciation, which is an average $3,000 per month. On year number 3, 46K, almost 4K per month. Year number 4, 60K, almost 5K per month. Year 5, you can see the number. Year 10, right, $290,000 in 1 year, which is $24,000 per month on average. And now one might say, well, but Bobby, you asked me to calculate my monthly expenses and now you are calculating here these numbers and you are assuming that I'm not gonna cash out anything. How is that possible? Well, it is very well possible. It is possible because instead of selling your Bitcoin, right, you can actually borrow against it in order to cover your expenses. Let me explain. Let's say that you need $1,000 per month in order to cover your expenses, right? That's about $12,000 in your very first year. Well, you can easily borrow $12,000 against your $91,000 worth of Bitcoin, right? And use this loan in order to pay your day-to-day expenses. It is way more profitable to go that route compared to selling your Bitcoin, because you're assuming the 30% appreciation, you're gonna make $27,000, right? While you would have spent only $12,000, right? So next year you can do the same. You can spend another $12,000, borrow against your Bitcoin, which on year number 2 is already worth $120,000. So is it a problem to borrow another $12,000 against your Bitcoin, which is now worth $120,000? Not at all, right? The Bitcoin is appreciating with more than you are spending. So as long as you make sure this is happening, I mean, as long as you make sure that you are spending less than what the Bitcoin is appreciating with, right, you're never gonna run into problems. This is something that wealthy people have been doing for years, right? Wealthy people buy properties, then they borrow against their properties and they use this money to cover their expenses. And by the way, the appreciation is not the only advantage here. Another advantage is that you don't pay taxes on this money. You don't pay taxes on money that are not yours, on the money that you borrow. If you work for the $12,000 that you need in order to cover your expenses, right, you're actually gonna have to pay taxes on this amount if that's an income. But if you borrow this $12,000 against an asset that you are holding, not only that the asset is appreciating, and since you are not selling it, you are not paying any tax on that as well, right? But you are also not paying any tax on the loan that you are getting and that you are using to cover your expenses. So I hope something is clicking right now in your head, because rich people have been doing that forever. So if you do this carefully and if you do it long enough, you're gonna come up to a point where these $12,000 a year that you are spending are not gonna be relevant anymore, right? Because your holdings will be worth so much more than your loans that you're just not gonna care anymore, right? And you will actually be able to spend more than that if you want to. So that's pretty much it for the investing part. You guys can get the sheet. You can use the different calculations here. By the way, let me show you, if you want to assume that Bitcoin is going to appreciate with more than 30% on average, right? What you guys have to do is you can either create a new sheet by right clicking on this and duplicating it, right? Or you can use some of the other sheets with the different numbers, right? Since I started showing you a new one, let's do this one. We're going to rename it to USDT 50%, right? Let's assume a 50% average appreciation, right? All you gotta do is just follow the step that I just showed you and then change this to 50%, and then just click on this cell that you updated and drag it down all the way in order to update the whole sheet with 50% appreciation. If you want to do less than 30%, let's say for some reason you want to do 25, the same thing. Write down the percentage, drag it down, and you're gonna get the numbers. There is just one more thing that I want to show you guys when it comes to this sheet. I don't live in America, right? So I don't really spend US dollars. I live in Bulgaria and our local currency here is BGN, Bulgarian leva. I believe this will be the case for many of you. Many of you are gonna need to do these calculations in your local currency, and you can easily do it with the sheet. As you guys can see, we have here USDT, we have here BGN. Now, this is my local currency. I cannot make you sheets here for all of your currencies, guys. So you gotta have to follow the process that I'm gonna show you right now in order to adjust the sheet for your own currency. There are two ways that you can do that. You can either completely change all of the values here. So let's say that you live in the Philippines, and let's see what's the price of Bitcoin in the Philippines. 66,798 peso, like $1 is like 50 peso maybe, or whatever at the moment around that. So one Bitcoin is 339,900. One Bitcoin in the Philippines. And by the way, you have to change all of this to PHP, just to know what's going on. You can change here, or you can just delete the BGN currency, right? So one Bitcoin at the moment, the price of for one Bitcoin in the Philippines is around that number, right? So you guys can see that by just changing the value of Bitcoin, all the numbers here change, right? My holdings change. So one Bitcoin means that I'm holding 3.3 million peso worth of Bitcoin, right? The appreciation per year is gonna be 1 million peso, and the average appreciation per month, excuse me, is gonna be 83,000 peso. Once you do that, you can start again changing here your holdings, right? Play with different holdings in order to see what numbers you guys are going to get and how much Bitcoin you're gonna need to buy in order to cover all of your expenses. Once you know how much Bitcoin you need to buy, you just gotta start stacking, right, and start buying this Bitcoin. Now you might say, well, Bobby, I need 50,000 or whatever dollars, right, to buy Bitcoin. I don't have that much. Well, like I said in the very beginning of the video, there are two ways that you guys can take: trading or investing. Investing is way easier. You just buy the Bitcoin, you hold it, you borrow against it, and you live your life. But you need a lot of capital in order to go that road. If you don't have that much capital, you can simply take this road, which is trading. By doing this, you can have much higher returns on your capital, right? So you can make the same amounts of money with way less capital, right? And it can still be very passive. You can still have all the freedom that you need and spend like 20 minutes a day managing everything, right? So the way I do this is with bots, right? I have bots trading the crypto market for me 24/7. The bots are taking hundreds of trades. They take trades while I sleep. They take trades while I'm in the gym. They take trades while I'm playing outside with my son, right? The bots take trades all the time. Now, if you want to do the same thing that I'm doing, you guys have two options. You can either do it yourself, or you can get a done for you service. We do offer a done for you service, and it's available on our website, right? If you just go to our website, which is on my t-shirt, you will find everything. This is the easier way to go about it. The harder way to go about it is to try to figure out everything yourself. You can do it, but it might take you a very long time, and you might end up paying way more than if you just get a done for you service. So how do you do it yourself? Well, you gotta, number one, master trading. Then you gotta develop your own trading strategy. Ideally, you would have more than one trading strategies for different market conditions. Then you're gonna turn this strategy into a trading indicator, right, which can be connected to a trading bot. Then you're gonna start a bot, seed it with capital, connect it to a trading indicator, which is trading based on your trading strategy, which needs to be optimized, right? You're gonna know when this strategy performs best. You gotta know on which pairs it performs best. You gotta know a lot of things on which time frames. You gotta know a lot of things. Once you know all of that, you start the bots, you seed it with capital, let it do its job. The bots trade 24/7 and they make you money even while you sleep. And now the third and last step, guys, is to start the day. Many people wanna start doing these things, but they let life get in the way, right? And they procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate. You guys have to understand that the earlier you start and the more time you spend, the faster you're gonna reach your target, the more money you're gonna make. If you are 40, you should have started when you were 30. If you are 30, you should have started when you were 20. It's always like that. So don't get life gets in the way, because there are not many things which are more important than your financial future.